There we go. Okay, good, 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 good. All right. So let me see here. Do me a favor, shout out your city. I'd like to know what city everybody's from. I'm looking in the chat box. I see Frank. Okay, somebody says hello, Dr. Frank. John Thomas says, got to do that beforehand, Doc. I know, man. I know. You know what happened? Vergis from Charlotte, North Carolina, Kasana from Richardson, Texas. You know what happened? I was driving back from Bloomington, Indiana today, and I did not realize how close the time was. I don't know why I picked this time. I think it's because I'm stupid. I think that's the only solution I could come up with, the only logical explanation that you're learning from a person who clearly has no brain in his skull, because I literally picked 9 o'clock and I got out on my way back. I was thinking, what was I doing? That was such a bad estimate, but I was so eager to talk to you today that I just went ahead and I put it in there and I said, I want to do it today because I'm flying to Colombia in a couple of days. And I'm actually flying there to hopefully meet my niece, my new niece, who's going to be born, who's expected to be born in the next 2 to 3 weeks. My brother and his wife are giving birth, and it's amazing. I'm really excited, and we actually have a long-term plan for her, and I'll explain to you guys, exactly what our plan is for to make sure to guarantee that she will have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the bank by the time she's 30. It's a very basic model, the KID model that I created for Black children to guarantee that any family that wants to have wealthy children and grandchildren, how you can actually do this now. It's not very hard to do. It's no different from planting tomatoes in your backyard or planting trees or whatever it is. And I'll explain that in 1 second. Let's see here. Let's see. One sec. All right. And also, there's an interesting study that I just saw that I want to talk about as well. That'll kind of, as you know, the thing about the Black Business School, the number one thing that we focus on is we focus on alternative economic solutions for Black Americans. We focus on people that have tried the other methods, who've tried all the stuff that comes with integration, all the stuff that comes with, affirmative action, all the stuff that comes with, working for other people, and it's not getting them where they want to get to. And what I'm going to do is kind of explain to you why it's not working, and then I'm going to explain a method that I think will work. Now, the first thing I want to do, what's going on, Max? I see Max Jerome's in here. Max, I saw you sent me a message on Facebook. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I couldn't respond. In case you don't know, Facebook booted me out. I have, as you know, I state my opinions and I don't apologize for them. One opinion I had that is not allowed by the thought police that exist on the internet is that I don't agree with the liberal position on illegal immigration. I don't understand why Black people have been punished for violating federal law, but yet now we suddenly have this process, this policy where we want people to be exempt from federal law. I also am from Chicago, or that's where I live, and that's a city where I've seen lots of industries and job opportunities that Black people used to have are no longer available because of the influx of immigration, right? It doesn't mean immigrants are the reason for every single problem that we have in the Black community. Nobody's saying that, but I am saying that, that Dr. Claude Anderson has a point when he says that excessive immigration levels are utilized to basically to water down Black populations. That white folks that they became very nervous when Black people were a huge percentage of the population. Remember, there was a time where Black people were more than 30% of the population. And so they said, we need to have immigration policies where we bring in people from other countries, mainly England. England was the number one hotspot to recruit more white people. And so their policy was, if you're from England, anybody from England can come in. The whiter your country, the more the likelihood that we'll let you in. When you get browner and darker, the less likely we are to let you in. When it got down to Africa, the immigration levels were zero. They literally said, we will not allow anybody from Africa to come to our country, that wasn't born here. So basically, my position on immigration is one where I am fine with immigration itself. I think immigration is great. but I'm not a big fan of illegal immigration, mainly because I don't understand how other people can violate federal law and with no consequence. But Black people, when we violate federal law, we go to prison for 30, 40, 50 years. I know a person that has 14 life sentences right now because he violated federal law. And so my feeling is that if you're going to let somebody who broke into the country illegally violate federal law without consequences, then you should also let my friend out of prison, who basically back in 1983, he was allegedly the head of a drug organization. He sold some cocaine. They never caught him with drugs. They never caught him killing anybody. They never caught him with a weapon, but they got him on the conspiracy RICO charge. The RICO charge led to him being locked up, as well as his mother, his sister, and his brother. I think two of his brothers got locked up with him. So basically, that whole family was obliterated because they had no adults to take care of the children. All the adults went to prison. So all these children were out here separated from their families. Key words here. These are, pay attention. Those are key buzzwords, right? Separated from their families, and nobody cared. Nobody cared one bit. So, at the end of the day, the reason I got banned from Facebook was because I stated that opinion, and because there's a huge liberal bias in both mainstream media as well as the big tech companies. They pretty much have policed thought. They've policed ideas. We've gone into this very fascist kind of state where any opinions that differ from what they believe is acceptable lines of thought are going to be punished. So basically, they booted me off Facebook, which I have backups, right? We have our social media platform, Blaggenuff, BLAGGENUF. If you ever want to check it out, go to blaggenuff.com. It's a great social media platform. It's all Black. We do whatever we want. There's nobody getting banned for silly stuff, etc. Also, we are on multiple platforms. I'm on all the different technology platforms, Twitter, everything else, as well as in the Black Business School. So it's not as if the banning from Facebook has set us back that much, but it's a matter of kind of making that point that this is the era in which we live. And I think it's only going to get worse. And the reason it's important to understand this is because as an African American, you've got to be able to read the writing on the wall. You've got to be able to identify trends as they're happening so you can position yourself and your family to be as safe as you can possibly be. Now, let me go in here and give you, or I see some of you put your cities in here. Let's see. I see somebody from Royal Palm Beach. I see Royal Palm Beach, Florida, Greensboro, North Carolina from John. I see, let's see, East Orange, New Jersey. I can't see the name, though. I wish I could see the name, but I can see East Orange, New Jersey. Congrats, Uncle Boyce. Thank you very much. Would I buy Doggy Coin? I think I'll own it. In my crypto portfolio is a mix of a lot of different coins. That's what my number one rule for investing is: diversify. You don't put all your money into one thing. A lot of times when athletes go broke, whenever you hear about an athlete who says, I had $10 million invested and I lost it all, just know that they probably broke one of the rules of investing. If they had been investing in a basic diversified framework, there's no way they lose all their money. That's never, ever happened in the history of this country where a person who was properly diversified lost everything. So anybody who gives you that nightmare that they lost everything is usually because they put all their money into one business. They bet, basically it's like going to the track and you bet all your money on one horse. And well, yeah, you could lose everything. It's all or nothing, right? So you don't want to be a gambler. I don't teach people how to gamble. I teach people how to invest. An investor is a person who is as interested in protecting their money as they are in trying to make more money. You got to protect your position before you go out and try to increase your position. They pay attention. It's like football. I watched my Louisville Cardinals this weekend get their ass whooped by University of Alabama. And here's the problem. Look, they put 14 points on the board, which is almost enough to win a game, but they gave away 51 points, right? So if you're giving away more than you're taking, then you lose the game. You don't win if you give away more points than you actually score. So with investing, the same thing must be true. A smart investor plays defense and offense. They protect their wealth and they also work to expand their wealth. You see, now I'm gonna tell you a person who I love to death who did not follow this philosophy was Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin, she had her home going this weekend, and they had all the performers, and it was a big deal and everything else, and she deserved it because she's a queen of soul. God bless her. She's a wonderful performer. What she did not perform very well on, though, is in the area of protecting her wealth. She didn't play defense on her money. Aretha died. Everybody's writing now. All the journalists are writing stories about how Aretha Franklin did not leave a will. She did not leave a trust. She did not do any estate planning whatsoever. I don't understand how an 80-some-year-old person with pancreatic cancer doesn't spend 1 second planning for their afterlife. I'm not dissing Aretha at all. God bless her. I think she was buried in a red dress, right? Wasn't it a red dress? Well, my grandmother, my late grandmother Felicia, was a little bit younger than Aretha. I don't think Aretha. I think Aretha was in her 80s. Maybe I'm wrong, but y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. And my grandmother Felicia was in her 70s, and when she died, she also was buried in a red dress. Now, her red dress was not Delta Sigma Theta. She wasn't in a sorority. She only went to college for a couple years and got an associate's degree. But her red dress was actually for the Louisville Cardinals. She was that much of a Louisville Cardinals fan in Louisville, Kentucky, that she actually got buried in a red dress. And I thought that was the greatest thing, because that's all we used to talk about was basketball and football. Well, when she died, as part of her will, part of her estate plan, she stated that she wanted to be buried in that dress. As part of her estate plan, she stated what was going to happen to her assets. She laid it out in black and white. There was no room for ambiguity. There's no room for anybody to go into court and say, no, she said this, but I think she really meant that. She made it 100% crystal clear. Now, it doesn't mean that nobody could challenge the will. You know, we could have, I guess, if we wanted to be jerks about it. But when you leave ambiguity, especially when it surrounds a lot of money, like Aretha was worth $80 million or something like that, it creates all kinds of chaos and confusion that's going to take years to clear up. And what happens is that your family becomes the last people to get paid. The first people to get paid are the lawyers. The second people to get paid are the bankers. The next group to get paid is the IRS. Aretha is probably going to give an extra $10 million to white people because she did not make a plan for her death, because she did not, she didn't even have to make the estate plan. She wouldn't even have to do it. She's the queen of soul. Why would she have to do any of her own legal work? All she'd have to do is give the green light. All she had to do was say, look, I want to make sure my family's taken care of, or I want to leave the money to the church, or I want to leave the money to a certain charity, or I want to give it to Stevie Wonder so he can disseminate it as he sees fit. Whatever she wanted to do, it's up to her to decide what she wants to do with her money, right? Or I want to give it to the civil rights causes that I've been fighting for my whole life. All she had to do was give the word. And somebody would have said, okay, Ms. Franklin, we put together the documents. You got 80 million. We're going to put, we got so many life insurance policies in place for you. We also have some of your money that's actually going to go into this trust. The trust allows you to avoid probate, which means that upon your death, there won't be a court hearing where people will decide what to do with your money. The trust will kick in and the trust will decide what to do with your money. So that way your assets are protected, your children will be good, your charities will be safe, your companies will be fine, whatever it is, right? That's all she had to do. And all she'd have to do is just walk up and say, thank you very much, and sign the document. So I'm really dying to understand why Aretha Franklin, the queen of soul, who had access to more lawyers than you can count, who had more money than most of people will ever have in their life, did not take that time to just sign a piece of paper to make sure that her money is protected. Because any estate planning expert will tell you that that she's created. I'm not going to say she's created because I'm not trying to be mean, but this situation has created a messy scenario that's going to take years to work through. So you now, instead of having, this true, again, it's fascinating to me. We as Black people, we were very excited about the way she went out in style. We thought it was great that she had 100 pink Cadillacs. We thought it was so cool that Fantasia and all these celebrities are singing on stage. We thought it was amazing that they had this big church with all these famous people that came from all around the world to say goodbye to her. But that's all symbolic. That is all symbolic. That's all symbolic. What really matters is what's going to happen to those assets that she accumulated through a 60-year singing career that was as extraordinary as nobody's business. What really needs to occur, is that what would have really made sense. And I understand. I mean, at that time, it was a different world. People thought differently, and I understand that. But, when you are that young, when you're in your 20s and people are telling you that you're on your way to becoming one of the greatest singers in history, that's when you start thinking about your death. Like, you should be thinking about your death on a regular basis, not because you expect to die, not because you're hoping to die, not because you want to be all doom and gloom, but because you want to make sure that your hard work is not wasted. You see, I don't know how Aretha would feel if a white man walked up to her, when she was still alive and said, hey, lady, I need you to write me a check for $10 million. I need you to give me $10 million right now. I don't think she would do that. I don't think Aretha would agree to that. I think Aretha would fight that person, right? And so the idea that she would die without a will and still write that $10 million check over to the IRS, to the very same people that she spent her whole life fighting against, is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And so I just beg you, I just implore all of you right now to go and think about take a moment, just take a moment. You can even do it right now if you want to. Take a moment, and I want you to ask yourself this. No excuses, no apologies, no shortcuts, no nothing. I want you to ask yourself, if I died right now, if I got up from this conversation and I dropped dead, because you can't control your bodily functions, you can't make your heart stop, keep beating. You can't make your lungs keep breathing. You don't know what is making that happen. You can't control any of that. It could stop at any moment. So if I was to get up and die right as soon as I got done with this conversation, what would that scenario look like for my family? What would that look like? I want you to imagine all that. I want you to imagine yourself in the casket. You can't do anything now. All the regret you have ain't nothing but regret you're going to take to the grave now. Maybe you're dead and your pain is over, but the pain for your loved ones has just begun. They're dealing with the fact that you're gone. Your children no longer have you. Your significant other no longer has you. Happens every day. Happens thousands of times a day, every day, to regular people just like you and I who die and don't expect it. My sister is like a coroner, basically. She does autopsies. And she said that when she was cutting these dead bodies open, she used to do autopsies in Chicago, which is a grim place to be, analyzing dead bodies. And she would always have to determine the cause of death. And she said that it really woke her up when she would see some young woman the same age as her, who you could tell she had a calendar, she had plans, her cell phone was full, she was texting the day before. She had no idea that her cold, dead body would be laying on a stretcher in the coroner's office, being chopped open like a piece of meat so they could figure out how she died so unexpectedly. She said, when I saw that, and I saw how many people just die with no plan, no expectation whatsoever, that woke me up to how death works. Death is a very inconvenient process. So I need you to kind of do that for yourself. Do it. Don't do it for me. Don't do it because I told you. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Imagine what it would look like if you're in that casket and everybody in your family is now dealing with the aftermath of your death. One, they would be emotionally devastated. We know that's a given. Two, where would they be financially? What kind of life insurance policies do you have in place that would kick in instantly to make sure that they're not all going to get evicted from the house? What money do you have that they can access right away? Can they get into your bank account? Who else can get into your bank account besides you? I know for a lot of y'all, nobody else can get into your bank account. Well, did you know that if you die and you got all the money in the world in your bank account, that your children, your spouse, none of your relatives can get in your account? They need to have certain documentation to be able to get into your bank account. And that may take a while. It may take a while for them to get the approvals they need to get into your bank account. Do they know if you have life insurance? Do people know where the policies are? Do they know where to go to find out what you did put in place for them? Do they know where your assets are? Is there an inventory of the things that you own that's hosted by anybody other than yourself? You know it, it's in your head, but what if your brain stops working tomorrow? I went to my doctor the other day and I check I pay attention to what my doctor says, because I've taken my health real seriously. After they told me I had high blood pressure a little over a year ago, I said, man, I ain't playing with that. I ain't going out like that. I ain't going out like no big pun. I ain't going out like one of these people that thinks they can't die and running myself into the ground and then end up just dropping dead. If I drop dead, it's not going to be from stupidity. It'll just be because something happened and I couldn't control it, but I'm not dropping dead because I was stupid. So I listened to my doctor, and my doctor told me, he said, the reason I tell people to always take their meds is because he said, I have a patient, and the patient was busy with life. They were busy, 37 years old, busy, doing this, and this. And he said, I told him, look, your blood pressure is high. You gotta get your meds. You gotta come in. He had an appointment. He canceled it. He said, okay, well, all right, we'll make another appointment. And the guy said, oh yeah, I would have came in, but I'm busy. I had to do this. I had to do that. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to accomplish that. And my goal is to do this and this and this. And he's very ambitious, very hardworking, ambitious guy. He said, next thing you know, the guy had another appointment. He said he didn't show up. And he said, well, he was mad again. Like, man, this guy never shows up to his appointments. And he finds out the reason the guy didn't show up was because unexpectedly he had a stroke. and he had a brain stem stroke. So he's in a coma, and his brain ain't working right now. His brain's or it's working barely enough to keep him alive, but it ain't working enough for him to deal with all the stuff that he had that he thought he was going to be doing with his life right now. And when he recovers, he may not ever be the same if he lives, if he survives. So what I'm saying to you, and I'm really begging you to just kind of think about this, is I need you to kind of ask yourself, what's there for these people I supposedly love, that so that when I die, they're going to be all right. My kids, are they going to be all right? My spouse, my significant other, my mama, these people I take care of, are they going to be all right? And a lot of us, I think, because we don't talk about that in our family, we end up in situations where everything ain't all right. And that's how you end up with the people that have to go beg the church to take up a collection to help them pay for the funeral because somebody thought they were never going to die. You don't want to be that person. Like, people will whisper about you at your funeral. People will talk. They'll talk shit about you. Excuse my friend. They're going to talk about you. They're going to talk about you. They're going to be like, man, oh my God, look at those poor kids. Those kids are in such bad shape because their daddy didn't even make any plans for his death. Like literally, they're going to talk bad about you. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you is, I think that death planning is extremely important, not just for the protection of what you work for, but also for the protection of the people that you love. I would say, I always say this to the men, especially like if you're a real man, you don't just take care of your family while you live, and you take care of your family while you're dead and while you're away or while you're incapacitated. Same thing for mothers, same thing for women, same thing, right? Another thing you may want to look into and research and study is learn about trusts. Trusts are vehicles that allow you to, unlike Aretha Franklin, unlike Prince, if they just signed the right piece of paper, they could have put a lot of their money into a trust, which would have had specific instructions on what to do with that money upon their death or any other circumstance, right? So that would mean that if they had loved ones that they wanted to take care of, that the person who actually runs the trust, the trustee, would decide what happens with those assets. It wouldn't be the courts. The courts wouldn't be making that decision. I mean, they are raping Prince's estate. Those white folks are getting so much money out of Prince, it ain't even funny. Those banks are cashing checks in the millions off of Prince's estate, eating off of his estate. Now, he supposedly was a man that fought against white supremacy, fought against racism and all this other stuff. I can't imagine how many times he's rolling over in his grave as he's watching all these people eat good and live good off of the hard-earned money that he made throughout his illustrious singing career. I'm sure he would be livid that these people who ain't never wrote a song, ain't never sang a song, are living good because he didn't simply sign a piece of paper to allocate his money when he died. Okay, so just think on that. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just giving you that suggestion. I hope that you'll take it to heart. All the experts are now having fun kind of analyzing just how screwed up Aretha Franklin's estate's going to be. It's going to be in the news for the next several weeks, maybe several years. And mainly it's going to be because people are going to start fighting, because that's a lot of money and there's a lot of ambiguity. And I think that the Queen of Soul, if she'd taken that step to lay down the law in advance, you would save a lot of these issues. In fact, another problem you can have is that if you don't make those plans, people that you don't want to have the money will get the money. Like, there are people that don't update their insurance policy. Next thing you know, your ex-wife or your ex-husband, who you can't stand, gets all your assets, and the person you actually love gets nothing. Right? That happens all the time, every day. There was an estate planning lawyer who told me that they make the majority of their money from people who don't plan for their death. They said if everybody planned for their death, we would go broke. We would not have income. But because people don't plan, that's where we get paid. When you don't plan, we get paid. So like they said, you don't plan to fail, you fail to plan. Well, when you don't plan, others get paid. Just remember that. Wealth is kind of a funny thing. Wealth is not something that magically lands in your pocket because you got lucky. Wealth is typically a transfer from smart people to not so smart people. Wealth is a transfer, from people who didn't make a plan to those who did make a plan. The same way you're not making a plan to hold on to your money, there's somebody that's got a plan to catch everything you drop because you're not thinking about where your money's going. So remember, with your wealth, you got to play offense and play defense. That's extremely important. As much as I love Aretha Franklin as a singer, and as much as I love that concert they did on TV, I thought that was great. That honestly means nothing when you look at the big picture of it, which is that her family's going to suffer tremendously because nobody made a plan for her death. Now, if you are in the Black Business School or interested in being a part of it, most of you are already in the Black Business School. It just so happens that attorney Nicole Compton is teaching a 6-week program on estate planning in the Black Legal Program. In case you guys don't know, we actually created a law school within the Black Business School, a law school for Black people who don't really want to be lawyers. They don't necessarily want to take the bar, but they want to know the law as well as they would if they were a lawyer. So what I did was I got some really good attorneys, DeMario Solomon Simmons, Nicole Compton, Tanya Nebo, who went to top law schools, who are very smart people, and they teach law several times a week. And so right now, Nicole is actually going through estate planning. And so when you get done, you'll know exactly what you need to do to set up your will, set up your insurance, set up your trust, set up everything. And you can even teach that to other people so that our community can elevate its thinking when it comes to the protection and the preservation of our wealth. So if you haven't taken a look at it, feel free. You can do a 30-day trial. You can the first 30 days totally free on me. You don't have to pay a penny of it for the first 30 days. So you can see if you like it. Go to theblacklegalprogram.com, theblacklegalprogram.com. It's also actually, we're going to develop a law school for children. We haven't put that together yet, but truth be told, the way they're breaking down the law, because we believe Black people need to know the law. We believe every Black person needs to understand the law because the law is used to oppress us, manipulate us, take things away from us. So my theory is that if we have thousands of Black people who learn the law even on a basic level, that's going to make us a lot more difficult to victimize, right? Sometimes sometimes people are victimized because they're easy targets, and other people are only victimized because somebody's that determined to get you. But so it doesn't mean you're ever fully able to protect yourself in every single way. But pay attention when they talk about vulnerable communities, when they talk about communities that get duped, when they talk about communities where they sell, for example, they sell unhealthy fast food, or they sell predatory loans, or they try to do manipulative strategies like, gentrification to push them out of their neighborhoods. Usually what they're doing is they're using the law on people who don't understand the law, right? Or they're basically appealing, they're going after people. They're not going after the educated Black people. They're not going after the Black folks who understand what's going on, who understand the deal, who can file lawsuits. They're going after the Black people who are confused, the ones who don't know what's happening and who are easy targets for them. So that's what the Black Legal Program is all about. So feel free to join it. You can take a look, theblacklegalprogram.com. We do have a certificate you can earn when you complete the program. If you want to bring your children, bring your kids, they break down the concepts in a way that even a child can understand. That's what I told them. I said, I want you to take everything you learned in law school, and I need you to chop it up into bite-sized portions so that our students can absorb it and understand it, and then walk away with an understanding of the law and how it works. And so if you're interested, go to theblacklegalprogram.com. I think you're going to like it. And the first thing I told Nicole to cover was estate planning. I said, we need to have a conversation in our community about protecting wealth so that we're not giving everything away once we're dead. In fact, did you know, if you follow me long enough, if you've been a part of this long enough, you've heard me say this, I'll say it again for those who didn't hear it. 70% of all wealthy families lose all of their wealth in one generation. Let me say that again. 70% of all wealthy families lose everything in one generation. It just takes one generation for everything that you work for. Think about it. So imagine you bust your butt, working long nights, get up early mornings, for 50, 60 years, and you work to save up and leave something to your family. 70% of those families will have nothing in one generation. Well, why is that? Well, a lot of times it's due to a lack of preparation. I've thought about this extensively. I'm gonna leave my heirs some money. If I died tomorrow, they would have quite a bit to work with, right? And so one of the things that was very important to me was, one, estate planning and making it clear. I update my will about once a year. In fact, I might even do it once every 6 months, really, eventually, because I really want to make sure I'm on it. Also I talk to them about, exactly what I want. I leave videos for my brother, who's one of my executors, and I tell him, I say, look, this is what I want. I need you to know exactly what I want because I want to run my company from the grave. And I was talking about death a lot, and they were like, God, his voice, is he dying? Does he have cancer? Is he obsessed with it? I said, no. I said, I've never been more alive in my life. I said, in fact, I'm so alive that I'm seeking immortality. I'm seeking a form of an economic version of eternal life right now by making sure that I put mechanisms in place so that these mechanisms will operate after my body shuts down. You understand? Because a human body can only last so long. A human body is only going to give you 60, 70, 80 years on this earth, but a machine can last forever. So I said, look, I'm trying to build an economic machine. I want to build a machine that makes certain decisions, that runs in a specific way, so that 100, 200 years after I'm gone, that machine's going to continue. And that's really how you want to think about the wealth building process in general. A lot of us, we miss out on wealth building as children because we're taught about wealth in a way that's not always productive or healthy or beneficial. We're taught about money as something that you get for doing labor. We're taught, so what you learn when you're young, which is the absolute worst thing for a child to learn, is if you want more money, you work more hours at your job. If you want more money, you spend more time at the factory. If you want more money, you stay at the office longer. And this isn't just for low income people. Even lawyers have that mindset. Lawyers are like, oh, well, now I make $400 an hour instead of making $50 an hour, but you're still in an hourly space, which means that there's still a cap on how much money you can earn. The smartest people are those who are taught at an early age on how to make money through systems, because systems can work while you're sleeping. Institutions can operate around the clock 24/7 long after you're dead. You see, systems and institutions and economic machines allow you to go harder and faster and longer than you ever could with your human body. And so ultimately, remember, your body, your time, etc., those are depleting assets. Those are perishing assets. So what, like if you're a football player and you're making money by playing more football games or getting on the field more often, yeah, it's going to work for about 10 or 15 years, and then your body will break down, and then your machine, your income earning machine, will not be able to continue. So a smart football player, what they do is while their body is strong and they're able to earn money as an athlete, they're converting their economic machine from something that is human based, that is organic, to something that is mechanical, or something that is automated, or something that is built on a system. So the best things you can really actually teach your kids when it comes to money at an early age is how to develop systems, how to develop structure, how to create an organization, how to develop an institution. Because if you have an institution, then that allows you to do things like delegate. You can delegate. You can have 10 people that are working for you. And so you're not working 80 hours a week anymore. Now you're working 1,000 hours a week, and you might be on vacation the entire time. You might literally be working harder or being more productive while you're on vacation than most people are when they're in the office. That's what learning systems allows you to do. So basically, if I'm making suggestions on how you learn how to build wealth, I say learn how to build systems and processes and structure so that you can then delegate and have something that's working while you're sleeping, that's making money while you sleep. I had no experience with that because I wasn't raised with that in my household. My parents never taught me about that. Well, I only knew about getting a job. I only knew about behaving, getting a good education, and getting a job so that you can then have enough money to pay your bills. And so what really opened my eyes was when I learned how to develop systems and processes. And I had one experience where we had a little business thing going. And I remember that I made $1,000 overnight. And I remember just thinking, this is amazing that, that I went to sleep and I had $0 in my PayPal account. I woke up the next morning, I've got an extra $1,000. A lot of people work really hard to get $1,000. Like, it's a lot of labor it takes to get $1,000. And I made that while I was sleeping. And that made me want more. That made me hungry for more. Another time when I was a kid, and I had this job where I was selling candy door to door. And I remember, just making money from sales and how that led to accelerated income earning. And that really kind of opened my eyes, because I was like, okay, wait a minute, if I'm really good as a salesperson, then I can make a lot more money than I can make if I'm really good as a laborer. Same thing when I used to sell candy in high school. I used to sell candy when I was in high school. Well, I told you, I said high school. So I was in high school. I used to sell these M&Ms and Skittles and all that. And I would buy them cheap and I would sell them at the regular price. And I remember just having this big stack of money to the point where I was known as the kid who had all the money. Like, I suddenly went from being like an ugly nerd to being like a guy who could probably have even gotten a girlfriend if I wanted to. And because girls didn't like me in high school. I didn't even know how to talk to girls. I had zero game, just in case you want to know. And but it was really fascinating to me. The power of a system, right? So systems are what you want to aim for when it comes to wealth. I think that's incredibly important for you to implement that with your kids. Don't talk to them about jobs until they've discovered on their own. Now, Charlotte says, somebody says my mouth is running 100 miles a minute. Yes, it is. I agree. That's what I do. I get excited. I get really excited because this stuff really inspired me. Because, the thing is that as a Black man, I remember feeling very frustrated a lot. I remember being mad because it seemed like no matter what I did, I wasn't getting the opportunities I deserved. I got tired of being misjudged, by white folks. I would go to work, I do my best, and they would still, define me as some kind of delinquent. I would get in trouble and I'd be like, well, what did I do? I don't understand. It started actually in elementary school with the white teachers, but it continued in adulthood. And so when I discovered that I could actually get away from all that I don't have to live within these systems and operate within these systems, that inspired me to learn more about the systems. Now, somebody says, talk more about your candy hustle. The candy hustle was real basic. It was basically, I would buy Skittles and M&Ms and stuff like that from Sam's Club for $13.99 a case. A case had 30 boxes in the case. I could sell each box for $1. So it was basically standard buy low, sell high. I would buy the Skittles and M&Ms and all that for $13.99. I could sell the whole case for $30. So it was two things happening. One, I was making a profit of $16 a case. So each day I could sell 2 or 3 cases. So I was making like a lot of money, like $50, $60, $70 a day as a high school kid. But second of all, what it did was it took me out of a spending mentality to an investing mentality. You see, a lot of people are afraid to invest because they say, well, my God, I'm scared to invest because if I invest, what if I lose my money? What if I lose money? What if I lose money? And I'm like, okay, but if you don't invest, what are you going to do with your money anyway? Well, you're probably going to spend it. Well, spending it is a terrible investment because you're guaranteed a return of 0%. Like, if I go and I put my money in stocks and bonds, I mean, maybe I'll make a 10% return. Maybe I'll make a negative 5% return, whatever. I might lose a little bit of money, but at least I'll have something to show for it. If I go invest my money by spending it at the mall, then I know I'm gonna walk out of there with empty pockets. I know for a fact I'm guaranteed to walk out of the store with nothing more than a couple of outfits and no money to show for it. And I want you to tell me, I want you to point out to me anything that you spent money on, anytime you went shopping 8 years ago, go back to the year 2010, and I want you to tell me right now, anything that you remember going to buy in the year 2010 that you still have today, that still makes a difference in your life right now. Tell me anything. Most of y'all ain't even got a car that lasted that long. A lot of y'all bought cars in 2010 that are now junk. Talking about $40,000, $50,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 cars, right? Clothes. You don't remember what clothes you were wearing in 2010. You can't even wear them now. The styles change, right? Like the meals, well, you know what happens to food. You eat it and it goes out the other end, right? So the food, you ain't keeping none of that. It wouldn't even stay fresh that long. Like, what have you done? What did you do? Now, the only exceptions, though, would be if you bought a house, then you might still be living in the house. If you started a business, you might still have that business. If you bought some stocks and bonds and didn't sell them suckers, then you're probably sitting on a whole lot of money. Somebody please testify if you happen to be fortunate enough to be in that category. If you put that money, if you took the same amount of money in 2010 that people spent on food and shoes and clothes and fast food and everything else, and if you took that same amount and put it in the stock market, I don't even care which stocks you buy. As long as you buy different ones, if you just spread it out, that's the key. Just spread the love. Don't put it all in one stock. If you put that money into, say, 20 random stocks in 2010, and let's say it was $30,000 or whatever, that the average American spends about $3,000 or $4,000 a year at least on fast food. But when you add it all up, let's say it's $20,000, $30,000, whatever the number is. If you put that money in the stock market and just spread it out randomly, that 20 grand, let's say it's 20 grand, will be about 70 or 80 grand right now. And you still have the original 20 that you put in there. You would still have that original money that you put in. So, I think that the bigger question is not whether or not investing is a good idea. The issue is that we're making the wrong comparison. When you make an investment and you're thinking, my God, what if I lose money? Oh my God, that'll be the end of the world. Losing money is not the worst thing that can happen to you. When you make an investment, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you don't invest at all, which guarantees that you'll lose money. At least with investing, you got a shot. at least you're going to have something to show for it. Like, let's say that everybody in here went and invested in the stock market. Let's say the market had a historically bad 5-year run, just worst in history, worse than it's ever had in any 5-year period. So let's say you put out 10 grand and in 5 years it's worth 5,000. Well, at least you still got 5,000 from the original 10. A lot of y'all spent 10,000 in 2008 or 2010 and have none of that money to show for it. How many of y'all can point back? I want you to just think for a second, ask yourself, how many times can you point back to times where you had a pocket full of money and you have nothing left to show for it? If you are like that, then join the damn club, because that was me in a nutshell. I ran through so much money when I was young because I didn't have the investment mentality. I knew what I needed to do. I knew about investing. I was a grad student. I was studying all this stuff, but I was stuck in the culture. I was stuck in a financially muddy Black culture that's built on taking money and making it rain at the mall. Seriously, a good movie comes out, we got to see that movie. We got to go see the Black Panther. We got to go see the new Tiffany Haddish movie. We got to go and spend money on whatever it is that we think will entertain us or make us look fly or allow us to drive something cool. Right? That's what we feel like we got to do. That's passion. We got to have a new iPhone. I saw a teenage girl who literally, I thought she was going to freak out and die when her mama would not take her to the Verizon store to get the new iPhone. And I said, I have never in my life ever seen you so motivated to do anything in your life than what I saw when you were motivated to get that new iPhone. Like that ambition that you had to get that new iPhone. I'm gonna need you to show that ambition when it comes to learning how to read. I need you to show that ambition when it comes to learning the things you need to learn in order to be successful. If you had that ambition when it came to your success, racism would not be able to stop you. Racism cannot stop a Black person who is extremely determined to get ahead. If you are as determined to get ahead as some of these kids are to get the latest Jordans and the latest iPhones, then there's nothing that can stop you. Look at the way we excel in basketball and football. We are determined to be excellent basketball and football players. And there's racism, yes, but it doesn't stop all of us. It stops a couple of guys. I mean, you always hear the story about the great athlete who went to prison or whatever. Right. There are those stories, but it doesn't stop everybody. It won't stop. It doesn't stop everybody. Right. And so what I'm just simply trying to say is that, you got to understand that wealth, having money is a cultural and psychological phenomenon. If you are in a culture, in a space where people sort of focus on preserving assets, just asset preservation. That's what they call it. I mean, basically means keeping your shit, not giving it away like a dummy. It changes your outlook. It changes conversations. It changes everything. So I think that you should start that culture around yourself and then bring people around who also share that culture. I think I have that culture. That's who I am. That's what I do. That's what I'm all about. You guys get invited to come and hang out with me on the internet and all this other stuff. And there are other people out there that think just like you. Don't ever think that you're all alone, and don't ever let the ignorance of the community sort of distract you and frustrate you to the point where you feel that Black people are not doing it. There are some Black people that are doing amazing things in this world, and you're going to see the results of these amazing things in about the next 10 or 20 years. In case you don't know, don't forget the All Black National Convention. It just as, for example, as a place you can go to hang out with people like that. All Black National Convention is at the end of this month, the weekend of September 27th. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. There is a link to buy a pass. There's a link to be a vendor. There is also a link to watch the live stream. So you click on one of those 3 links and be connected to the convention. We're going to have Dr. Claude Anderson, Kenny Gamble from Gamble and Huff, who actually owns a bunch of land out there in Philadelphia. He bought up his whole entire neighborhood. Jay Morrison is coming. He actually raised $12 million with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. I've asked Jay to come in. He's graciously agreed to come in and talk about how he did it. He's very open with sharing that knowledge with other people. Attorney Nicole Compton, who's a business startup expert, is going to teach you how to start businesses. There's no reason you should ever not be sure about what to do when it comes to starting your business. Nicole Compton meets with her students 3 times a week to answer any question you have about what you need to do to get your business moving, what paperwork you got to fill out, how to do your operating agreement, what legal issues to be concerned about. All of that. She breaks it all down extremely well. So if you want to learn how to start a business, we actually have a program. It's blackmoney103.com. That's blackmoney103.com. That's the 3rd class in the Black Money sequence. What we do is we created a 6 course sequence that allows you to cover all the areas of Black wealth that I think are most critical for a person to be successful. These are the areas that I said, look, if a person knows this, and this, I think they're going to be in good shape. They're going to be able to go out here and really do well for themselves. So, so blackmoney103.com is the entrepreneurship class. The convention information is at allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And if you want to look, if you wanted to get everything, if you want to sign up for all the programs at once, we actually have a premium package that gives you access to the whole Black Money sequence and our programs for children, and everything else is more like a family pack. So feel free to go to allblackeducation.com if you want to check that out, allblackeducation.com. And actually the code, you can actually use a code and get 40% off. The code is Panther66. Panther66, one word. So use the code Panther66 at allblackeducation.com. You'll get access to a bunch of stuff in the Black Business School. A lot of these programs are certificate programs. So as you complete the material and the curriculum and everything, you can get a certificate from the Black Business School. And I want you to print that out, and I want you to frame it. I want you to put it on your wall, because what we're doing is we're doing what the white man did 250 years ago when he created Harvard University, Yale University, Stanford University, the University of Connecticut, the University of Tennessee, East Middle Tennessee State University, the Utah State University, this massive university system in which he's able to educate all of his young people to prepare them to come work for companies that are run by people in their community. That's where that comes from. So basically the Black Business School is Harvard University for Black people. That is how we designed it. It is our Harvard University, except it's not what Harvard is now. It is what Harvard was 250 years ago. And so basically we've established that infrastructure so that when you have that certificate, that it eventually will convert that into degrees. These will be Black degrees. We will create our own certification system. We will have our own accreditation process. There will be no sort of like, oh, I hope white people acknowledge us enough to give us some sort of validation that we need to believe that we're qualified to do whatever they're doing. No, we don't need that. All of our people in the program, everybody that teaches is already credentialed. We have PhDs, we have law JDs, we have MBAs, we have all the people that have all the credentials, all the experience that they need. So they don't need any accreditation from anybody, because what we're trying to do is something that's specifically designed to solve a very specific problem. The very specific problem is this. The problem is that if you look at the studies, and I'm going to show you guys this, I'm going to share my screen so you can see this. The study, there was a study I just saw that basically said that if you look at Black income, if you look at the income of African-American people, now this is after integration, this is after Martin Luther King, this is after Black Panther, this is after everything that we did in the 60s and the 70s to get ahead. This is after civil rights legislation. Check this out. Pay attention to this headline. What does it say? African-Americans are the only U.S. racial group, LA Times, where they're the only U.S. racial group earning less than they did in the year 2000. You are the only racial group that is earning less today than you did in the year 2000. What does the article officially say? It says the median income for an African-American household was $39,490 last year. According to the Census Bureau, it was $41,363 in the year 2000. So literally, your wealth and income levels are both going backward. Not just your wealth level, not just your income level, both your wealth and your income levels are going backward. Now let me put that into context for you so we can kind of see it for what it is. If this were happening to white people, all hell would be breaking loose. People would be losing their minds. It would be a hashtag. They'd be going nuts. If this were happening to white women, they would go crazy. White women have the privilege of complaining about problems that don't even exist. They would literally be going bananas over this. If this were happening to immigrants or illegal immigrants, even, they will be talking about it. But it's happening to you, and none of these people are talking about it. The LA Times, I'm surprised they even published this article. So what I'm really trying to say to you is that these problems are not going to be solved by your oppressor. You know, white folks are not going to get together and form a committee and a coalition that is dedicated solely to the improvement and the elevation and the sustenance of the African-American community. They're just not going to do that. That's not in their job description as white people. It is up to us to do that. And in order for that to happen, you must exit the vehicle. You must exit the vehicle. You are in a bus that is telling you that you're headed west, when actually the bus is headed east. They're telling you the bus is going 100 miles an hour in a good direction, and it's actually going 120 miles an hour in a bad direction. Black wealth is actually going down, and there's no measuring stick out here economically that says Black people are doing better in America than we were doing in the past. Nothing. Income's lower, wealth levels are lower, college debt. Even your most educated Black people who went to the extreme, who went to college, did the right things, made good grades, studied hard, went to these top universities, whatever it is they spent their money on, their wealth levels are going down more than poor people. Why? Well, because you're running fast in the wrong direction. That student loan debt has become such a monkey on your back that you can't repay that student loan debt. Why is that? Well, it's because student loan debt is sort of like taking on something bad and then cleaning it up with something good, right? It's kind of like taking a step backward so you can take 2 steps forward, right? Or you can think of it like you borrow, or better yet, you loan money to a cousin, and your cousin says, loan me $100, I'll give you $300 back in a month. That's a good deal. So in this analogy, your cousin is like white America, right? So it's a cousin that you're used to him, you've been living with him, you grew up with him, but you don't really trust him, but you think the relationship's getting better. So you go ahead and you loan cousin Pookie $100 because cousin Pookie says, look, loan me $100 and I'll give you $300 in 2 weeks. Well, what's happened is that you're taking on this debt. So you're loaning cousin Pookie $100 and cousin Pookie is not paying back the $300 that he promised you. He ain't even giving you $200. He's not even giving you $100. He's not giving you anything. In fact, not only is he not giving you anything, he's robbing you. Again, he's taking money from you more. He's taking more money from you than he ever took in the past. So you think that I'm gonna make this sacrifice. I'm gonna go ahead and loan him $100 so that I will benefit when he repays me the $300. But actually, he's not repaying you anything, and he's actually taking more money out of your pocket. So student loans, to take the analogy full circle, student loans are feeding you this idea that, look, if you go to the white universities and borrow $100,000 to get this degree, then they're going to hire you. They're your cousin Pookie. They're going to hire you and allow you to make enough money to go back and repay the $100,000. The problem is that you're taking on the debt and then they're not giving you the job. They're giving you a job, but they're not paying you as much as you deserve. You're not getting the opportunities that you deserve. So ultimately, you cannot repay all that debt when you're not making the money that allows you to repay the debts at that level. And it even goes for people. I'm talking about doctors. I know doctors who are in the worst financial shape than you can imagine. So you think about Black folks growing up, we think that the American dream is like you go to medical school, law school, you're super successful. Some of those people that went to law school, medical school are actually in the worst financial shape of any group of people that I've ever seen. I can't tell you how many lawyers I know who are pissed off that they went to law school because they thought they were going to go to law school, get a great job with a firm, make a ton of money, and be the next Johnny Cochran. And instead, they out here hustling just to make a couple of dollars so they can pay the rent on their apartment. Right. So what I'm simply saying to you is, you want to exit that vehicle. You want to exit the white American dream vehicle and create another vehicle I call the BAD, the Black American dream. The Black American dream is one where you say, look, I still want to make money, right? And also you say, look, I'm still willing to even take on a little debt if I have to. But in order for me to take on debt, I must be crystal clear that the amount of return that I get from taking on this debt, the amount of money I make after I take on this debt, is going to be high enough to allow me to repay this debt responsibly. I'm not going to end up like the average Black college graduate whose student loan balances are supposed to do this. You graduate, you got 50,000 in debt. A few years later, it drops 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. It's supposed to drop, right? Do you know what Black student loan debt has done? It's done this. Starts at 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. And you're like, wait, how did you borrow 50,000 to go to college, but you owe 72,000? That don't make no sense. Well, that's what happens when you get interest and penalties added on because you keep deferring it. You keep putting it off. You keep delaying it. Some people just stop paying it at all. Half of the graduates, half of all Black college graduates, and these are our best and brightest. This is our talented 10th, y'all. This ain't talking about people in the street struggling. This ain't talking about people in prison. We're not talking about people who are, who are listening to mumble rap and getting into that, sipping syrup and sitting in the mama's basement in their drawers playing Xbox. I'm talking about the Negroes who went to school, the talented 10th. Their debt levels are going up. And what's going to happen is many of them are going to die with a net worth that is absolutely negative. That is negative. Negative. What does that say about the next 100 years for the Black community? Do your grandchildren benefit in any meaningful, substantive way from the fact that you went to college? No, they might have a little knowledge. Maybe they got a blueprint from you, which is a set of instructions on how to go deeper in debt, right? Because you went to college, so they're like, well, my uncle so-and-so went to this school, so I'm going to go to that school too. Ain't nothing wrong with college, but we literally have that intergenerational curse where we're passing that bad blueprint down to our children, and then we die in debt, and then they die in debt. That's not progress, y'all. That's not how you move ahead as a people. So I'm trying to say, get rid of the WAD and exchange it for the bad. The WAD is the white American dream, and I need you to get the BAD, the Black American dream. The Black American dream says, look, I do want to make money because money is the key to my personal power. It is what allows me to tell my boss to kiss my ass. It allows me to quit my job and live my life and really truly do what God put me on this earth to do instead of sitting around in a factory serving some white guy who hates my guts and voted for Donald Trump. I'm willing to take on debt, but only in levels that are responsible and only in amounts that make sense based on the business model for me to be able to repay that debt responsibly so that I can actually at some point in the near future have a positive net worth. What does that also mean? The Black American dream means that my children in my house, that when they grow up as part of their Black educational experience, it's nice that you want to have my child go to that school, that public school down the street, and teach them a bunch of stuff that they'll never use. My child, I'm sorry, I've never had any reason in my adult life to recite the periodic table or to tell you what was in J.R.R. Tolkien's novels or to tell you about Western European history. I've never had a reason to use any of that information, but it's okay if they want to learn all that stuff. The first things they learn, the most important things they learn, though, are the fundamentals. They learn reading, writing, math, as my grandmother used to say, reading, writing, arithmetic, the 3 R's. So why? Well, because if they can read, they can consume information, which means they can learn anything. If they can write, they can communicate the information so they can consume it and spit it out in a way that communicates with other people and establishes channels of connection and activity that allow them to prosper, because your network is your net worth. Who you're linked in with, who you can communicate with, where you know how to add value will determine your value to other people. So they learn reading, writing, then they learn math. Why do you need to learn math? Well, because a Negro can't get ahead financially if you can't count. I'm sorry, if you're working at McDonald's and they need to put pictures of the food for you to know, how much a cheeseburger costs, that's a problem, right? So basically they learn reading, writing, math so that they can do business, they can communicate, they can form effective, productive relationships that allow them to get things done. Then after that, you're drilling them on starting a business. You're drilling them on a regular basis on how to build a business on the 3 pillars of wealth: starting a business, real estate, stock market investing. They know these things by default. They learn these things before they ever pick up a basketball, before they ever learn how to throw a football. They learn these things like the back of their hand. And then on top of that, what you do is you're investing amounts of money for them while they're young so that money will grow to give them something to play with. You're getting them ready for battle. You're getting them ready for the battlefield, the great battlefield of global economics. You're getting them ready for the battlefield by giving them knowledge, but then you're also giving them weapons by giving them some cash and resources and assets. That's why you have your life insurance policy so that your kids will be good financially in case something happens to you. You have an estate plan so that you have a trust in place to make sure that the money gets doled out when it's strategic locations, strategic points in their life when they need that money. You don't just give all your money away to an 18-year-old because she's gonna spend it all on a boyfriend or something. What you do is you set conditions on when she can get that money and why, right? And so you've given her all the assets that she needs to be successful. You've given her some money. This is what we're doing with our niece. We've already discussed my niece's whole life. She's gonna be so mad at us because she's gonna be like, man, y'all were planning my whole future without even asking me. And I'll be like, you're damn right. That's exactly what we're doing, because we're not gonna have you out here complaining and whining and moaning about how hard it is to be Black. We're gonna prepare you for the struggles of being a Black woman in this world so that you will be able to win that battle when the battle takes place. Now, let me give me 1 second. I gotta fix something here. So ultimately, what we're doing with my niece, this is what we're doing with my niece, my brother's child, who's about to be born in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I'm going to go down there and hopefully I'll get to meet her on the day on her birthday. I told my brother, I said, we need a plan. Black children need a plan. If Black children don't have a plan, then white people will have a plan for them. You don't understand. See, white people plan for you even when you're not planning for yourself. They already have a plan for you. It's almost like imagine a bunch of robbers and rapists that see a pretty girl with a pocket full of money walking into a room. They're already planned, like, okay, you're gonna say hello to her, you're gonna slip her the drink, you're gonna get her in the back, you're gonna do this to her, right? They're already, dirty people. That's what they do. They plan on how they're going to exploit you and how to harm you. And there's no dirtier group of people than what we've seen from the people that came across the boats in Europe. I'm not gonna be mean because some of y'all get nervous when I talk about white folks too much, but y'all know the history. The history is treacherous, right? So they have a plan for your child. The plan is to position your child where they're being educated by them, they're being employed by them, and they're being controlled by them. If your child has a special talent in a sport, then they've got a whole system called the NCAA designed to extract wealth from your family based on that child's talent. If your child wants to be a thug, cool. We got another plan for you. We got planned prison for your child. Well, we'll put your child in prison and have them doing $40 an hour jobs for $1 a day so that we can make money and we can make corporate profits, right? They got a plan for your child. So what I need you to tell me is, what is your plan for your child? If you ain't got a child, what is your plan for your grandchild? What is your plan for your child? If you cannot answer that question, then I feel sorry for you, because if you don't have a plan, they've got a plan. They've got a plan. You need to become plan A, because they already got plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They already got the whole alphabet covered. So with my niece, I said, we need a plan. Our plan is that I said she lives in South America, so she's already going to be fluent in Spanish and English. That's great because a big chunk of the world speaks Spanish and English. I said we're going to add Mandarin in there. I need her to get a tutor from the time she's 3 on how to learn Chinese. I need her speaking fluent Mandarin by the time she is 5 years old. She's not going to use those extra brain cells that all these little children have. She's not going to use up all her genius learning how to twerk and memorizing Nicki Minaj lyrics or Cardi B lyrics, whatever it is. That's not what she's going to be doing. She can do that after she finishes learning Chinese. Maybe she'll recite Cardi B in Chinese or something. I don't know. That's her business. But then number 2, I said, we're going to form a trust. I'm going to put a trust in place. Uncle Boyce will create the first trust. I'm going to start putting money in it. Do not tell her about it at all until she's 28. She don't need to know nothing about this money, because it's my money until I decide it's going to be her money. And basically, we're going to start investing slowly, because if we invest slowly, her asset, the number 1 asset she has working in her favor is time. See, she has 28 years. If you give somebody 28 years, I could turn anybody into a millionaire in 28 years. Literally, don't you understand that if you had a relative who simply took the money that the average American spends on fast food and new cars every year and took that back 28 years, that person would have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, then probably over $1 million for some people. The average car note is like almost $500 a month. And that's fascinating, because that's $500 a month is going in the garbage, right? So I'm just kind of trying to figure out, why would we spend $500 a month on a car note, but not spend $100 a month on our children's future? That's very strange to me. You wonder why we're behind? Well, that could play a part in the process. So I said, Uncle Boyce is going to start just trickling little amounts of money. I'm going to have it on autopilot to where I'm even going to forget about it. But this trust will get consistent amounts of money, and it's going to be invested in a diversified portfolio in the stock market, just consistently every month until she's like 28 years old. And I know, based on history, that this amount is going to grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars. In the meanwhile, she's not just learning multiple languages, because now she knows Chinese, Spanish, and English. And we're going to take her to visit those countries so that she can do business fluently in different countries. She'll never feel trapped. She'll never sit around feeling like, oh my God, it sucks to be Black because Donald Trump is mean to me and my life is miserable. No, she's going to say, look, fuck Trump. I don't like Donald Trump. I'm going to go to China. I'm going to go live in China. I'm going to live in Spain. I got a house in Spain, right? Or I speak Spanish too, so I'm just going to go back to Colombia. That's what she's going to be able to do. She's not going to be stuck like a lot of us, right? So then at that point, of course, she'll be doing everything. I mean, if I have these kids programs, I got to make sure my kids are doing it right. So we have our financial flashcards. So I'm going to be training her with the financial flashcards. With our kids in the house, we got the kids in the house. They're going to be my stepchildren once I marry their mom, and that is going to happen. In case y'all wonder, we're basically we got a person that is a nanny, but we also specifically picked out a nanny who can also teach. So we're going to have her working with them on like the financial flashcards. We're going to have her working with them to go through the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program to make sure they know this stuff cold, so that no matter what they choose to do, they'll never go through life wondering like, how do I buy a house? They'll never say, well, I never invested in the stock market because I don't know how. They'll never say, well, I would start a business, but I don't know what paperwork to fill out. They're going to know all of that stuff, right? So when you do that, what happens is what you're doing is you're giving the young person a lot of weapons and options they can use to make a move. So it's kind of like basketball. If anybody's ever played basketball, maybe even if you don't have the height of your opponent or the skill or the quickness of the opponent, if you can just do little things like dribble with your left hand, go left or right, that gives you a lot of options in terms of moves that you can make based on what the defense is giving you. But if you only got one move, like all you know how to do is shoot a layup, then they're going to eventually figure out how to stop that. If all you know how to do is shoot a three-pointer, they can figure out how to stop that. The toughest players to guard on the basketball court are the players like LeBron. LeBron, if you give him the three, he'll shoot a three. If you cover up his three, he'll go in and dunk on you. If you guard him on the right, he'll go left. If you guard him on the left, he'll go right. If whatever it is you bring at him, he's got another move that will counter the defense that you're playing. So for Black people, when they're trying to oppress us, that's like them playing defense. We don't want Negroes to succeed. But we're going to block you. We're going to stop you at every turn. We don't want Black people to get in ahead in America. We're going to block you. We're going to stop you. We're playing defense on you. Well, if you only got one move, if your only move is, I'm going to go to a white man's college and go work for a white man, then it's easy to stop you. You're an easy offense to stop. There's no hard work required to figure out how to defend your basketball team because you got one move. Your one move is, I'm going to go to such and such university and then go apply for a job. And then they're like, oh, well, let's just not hire them. Let's block out all the Black people that have Black sounding names. That was what they talked about in this study. When they said Black people's incomes are lower than whites, they said it was because of discrimination and they don't hire Black people and they don't give them the raises and promotions and all the stuff that we already know. You already deal with that. You already see that at work. But what if you had a Black person who figured out a way around that, who said, okay, look, you're going to pay me less. All right, so the average white person makes 59K. The average Black person makes 39K. So let's say I go work for a white man. He only going to pay me 39K, but the average white guy's making 59K. Well, what if I know how to start a side hustle? What if I know how to start a business? So I get together with my boys or my friends, you and your girls get together and you start a little business where you're bringing in a little extra money. Let's say you're bringing in extra, $1,500 a month. Well, 1,500 times 12, that's about an extra 18,000. So now your income has risen to that of the white people, right? And let's say your business really takes off. You make an extra 5,000 a month. Now you're making more money than the average white person. Or what if you make investments? What if you have real estate and you're getting income from different properties while you're also working your job? You see what I mean? So basically that's the analogy. Like you really want to have multiple options. And so when it comes to my niece, the number one goal for my niece is I want her to be free. And the way I'm going to train her to be free, or do my best anyway, I'm going to do my best. You can't predict what kids are going to do, how they're going to think. But the way I'm going to train her to be free is I'm going to train her to always know her options. Just like dating. If you're in a bad relationship where somebody's abusing you, like white people are like a bad relationship. They're like a really shitty boyfriend or a really horrible girlfriend. And they don't respect you. They don't like you, but they want you around. You ever date somebody like that where you don't understand why they want you around, but because they don't respect you, clearly they don't respect you, they keep mistreating you. So you're like, why would you want me around if you're going to mistreat me? Well, because they're used to you. They like you around. White folks like us around. They've been used to us for the last 400 years. And so ultimately in a relationship, if you don't have options, if all you can do is keep going back to that same terrible person and ask them to treat you better, then they're never going to respect you. You'll never win the battle of the wills because you don't have anywhere to go and they know it. Not only do you know you have nowhere to go, but they know that you don't have anywhere to go. And they know that you don't have anywhere to go. So it creates a very bad dynamic. Now imagine that same relationship though, where you got options, where, that pretty girl who's being mistreated by her boyfriend, he finds out that, hey, there's 4 other guys who make more money than him who are trying to holler at her at the same time. And she's actually entertaining them on the phone. Then guess what? He gonna straighten his stuff out. He gonna put his best foot forward because he knows he's in a competition now. He doesn't think that he has a monopoly on you anymore. So ultimately, the reason I think we're oppressed a lot of times is because I think that white supremacy knows that they've got a monopoly on you. They know that that they are all you know, that you're scared to do anything different. You're scared to go leave the country. You're scared to go start your own businesses. You don't know any other methods for making money. And they pretty much know that you're a one-trick pony. So what I want to encourage you to do is don't be a one-trick pony. Don't be a one-trick pony. Everything takes time. Yeah, Tommy says it's going to take time, right? Yes, it will. Everything takes time. Just like building up a powerhouse football team can take years to build a powerhouse football team, but you got to do it. You got to do it. So what I'm saying is, so my big play for Black people is not something that you're going to see in the next year. It's not something you're going to see overnight. It's something you're going to see over the next 50 years. That's what I'm laying out for you. I'm not laying out something that's going to happen overnight. If you give me 30, 40, 50 years, I can turn anyone into a millionaire, put any family in millionaire status. All you got to do is do the basic things that I tell you to do. And and by the year 2048, 2058, your family will be in very good shape. But it requires an elevated level of thinking. You can't be thinking in terms of instant gratification. You can't be thinking just that tomorrow is the only thing that matters, because understand that the reason certain people have power now, the people who have the most wealth right now are people who were planning for this 30 years ago, right? The reason the white people have gentrified your neighborhood and put a damn Whole Foods and a Starbucks in a dog park on the corner of what used to be the most ratchet hood in the city is because in 1978, somebody had a meeting and said, how are we gonna get these Negroes out of here so we can buy this land cheap? And in 30 years, we'll be able to sell it for a killing. That's what had to occur. Remember, battles are won before they start. You don't win the battle when it actually begins. When it begins, you're simply showing how prepared you are for the battle. So when you're in a battle and you're losing, it's not because you're not doing your best. It's not because you aren't worthy of winning. It's because you didn't prepare. When I would go take a test in school and I got an F on the test, it wasn't because I became a dumb person that day. It's because I didn't study, right? If I go on the basketball court and I play in the championship and we get our butts kicked by 40 points, it's because we didn't prepare to try to win that game, right? So you got to prepare. That's the idea, preparation. That's the power is in the preparation. So what are you doing right now to prepare your family to get to where you want them to get to? That's the question you must ask yourself. I think I could be of help with that. I obviously, I guess I am for some of you because that's why you're here. I'm going to answer a few of your questions. Before I do that, I want to remind you, if you want to check out some of the books, I have a lot of books that I recommend that you look at where you get flashcards, apparel, everything else. We have a whole store. So if you want to put some stuff in your house, like maybe like Black Business School t-shirts, like we have all kinds of stuff and flashcards and Powernomics books and stuff like that. You can go to blackwealthbuilders.org. That's blackwealthbuilders.org. So go there and you can actually pick up, all different kinds of books and all kinds of crap. Let me make sure the URL actually works. And also, if you have not looked into the All Black National Convention, you can find out information about that at allblacknationalconvention.com. So feel free to go check that out if you want to. And let me answer some of your questions. Okay, Cassandra says, hi, Dr. Watkins. Hello, Cassandra. How are you? James Valentine says, if Trump gets impeached, how do you think it will affect the economy and the stock market? Honestly, I don't think anything's going to really stop the stock market. The stock market, though, tends to have crazy reactions to uncertainty. So an impeachment proceeding, in my opinion, would create tremendous uncertainty that would, I think, have a negative impact on the stock market. So a lot of people that are in the investment community, they could care less about what they think about Trump politically. they know that they're making money from the fact that he's in the White House, and he's very pro-business. If you look at the stock market's performance under Obama and under Trump, it performed very well under both of them, but it did better under Trump than it did under Obama. That's something that Trump can brag about, but the difference, honestly, is that it's not because of something special he did. It's just that the stock market has always been a top priority of the government. So if you go back to, if you look at Trump, you look at Obama, you go to Bush, you go to Clinton, the stock market was flying in all those administrations. Like there's no Reagan, going back to Reagan. I mean, my God, you go back to the 70s. The stock market has been on a tear for my entire life. Now, it doesn't mean it can't go bad, doesn't mean things can't change. But if you look at the history of the market, that's been a great place to invest your money. I'm not trying to tell you that's the only place you should put your money, but it's something that's worth looking at, I think. Hello, Mildred. Mildred said this is her first time. Uh-oh, y'all need to warn her, because I am not your average bear. So, but I love you, Mildred, and welcome. And I'm so happy that you're here. Elaine Jackson said, when there's fighting among the kids, it's hard to decide what to leave to whom. The kids should have pushed for this to be locked down when the parents are still of sound mind, hard to take control. I agree. You're talking about Aretha Franklin. Yeah, I think I don't understand. I'd love to know the dynamics of why Aretha didn't have anything in place. Of course, you know, there are always the conspiracy theories that, you know, Aretha did have a will and, you know, nobody, you know, or they, you know, erased it or they tore it up. That's a possibility, but you know, I don't know. I'm gonna assume that she would have made copies or that she would have put something in a safe security box or whatever. So I don't know, but I'm not gonna speculate on that. Let's see. Are there any Black African companies on the World Stock Exchange? Not very many, Jamar. That is one great challenge for the Black community worldwide, is to get stock markets, particularly in Africa. Marcellus, how do you feel about multi-level marketing or owning a business through multi-level marketing? I don't do multi-level marketing myself, and I certainly don't promote it because I have too many people that follow me, and I would feel very badly if something just, you know, was a bad move, you know, long-term financially. You know, so I don't mess with multi-level marketing. My conclusion is that it's a mixed bag, that maybe you have some multi-level marketing situations where the companies are legitimate. What I have found consistently is that what tends to happen is there are a few people making a ton of money, and the masses are not making very much money at all. But what you do is you use the few people, just like they do with NBA players, right? They take the 1 out of 10,000 athletes who makes it to the NBA, and they put him on TV, and it makes all these other young Black boys think that they can get to the NBA too if they work hard enough, when really 9,999 of them aren't going to get a contract, right? So I think that multi-level marketing is similar. And what I tell people is that I say, look, if you really think that this is something that can make money, then I need you to ask the person who's bringing you in to show you where they cashed a check, you know, for thousands of dollars or whatever the number is, to show you how they made the money and show you exactly what you need to do to cash a check just like theirs. But don't listen if they take you to some event where there's some guy on stage who says, I made $1 million. That's not real. That's a person who has been able to make money by convincing other people that they can make money by, you know, getting under him on his, you know, in his, you know, whatever it is, his little multi-level pyramid, whatever it is, right? So I'm not saying multi-level marketing is bad. I think it's a great place to learn sales. I've seen people, I've really been impressed with the presentations of multi-level marketers and the way they know how to sell, and the way they, you know, the way they sort of are able to kind of, integrate the wealth conversation into what they do, and the economic empowerment conversation into what they do. I'm not a big fan of it though, because it's not always convincing. Like, I don't really want to hear that the key to my economic freedom is to join your multi-level marketing scheme. That just doesn't inspire me. But again, part of that could be my personal bias as well. So I'm not, just know though, you're not really going to see me get into multi-level marketing. That's not really my thing. But you know, some of them may be legit. Let's see. Dejan says, hello, my name is Dejan. Thanks for inviting me. I have a question. What are the safe and sensible, reliable life insurance plans that poor people can invest in? I'm not a big fan of investing in life insurance. I just believe you should have it, you know, and the place I get my insurance from is the blackinsurancenetwork.com. There's a lady named Yolanda who actually runs theblackinsurancenetwork.com, and she'll take good care of you. Tell her I sent you, so that she knows that I actually care about her and I want to see her business do well. She manages all of my insurance policies. She does a good job You can go to theblackinsurancenetwork.com. So feel free to take a look. Christine says, I met this family. I've never seen anything like this. Dirty poor for generations. How? That seems to be acceptable. My question is, how do I, if I choose after working hard to speak into the lives to help the ignorant in the African-American community around me? Christine, I think the best way to really help people is to help them if they want help. You know, I kind of have a rule that's similar to what Dr. Alicia, says. She's a therapist, and she says she never works harder than her clients when it comes to helping them. She never, gets to the point where she is pushing people to want to be something other than what they already want to become. And I'll tell you what, I agree with that. I don't have the energy to talk to somebody like they're a child and to force them to do something that they don't want to do. It's frustrating. It makes them mad at you. It pisses you off. So I suggest, rather than trying to change people, try to understand them. Everybody wants to be understood. Before you correct, you must connect. Dr. Kevin Cosby said that. He's a pastor down in Kentucky, a guy I really respect. And so I encourage you to first try to understand people, listen to them, connect with them, understand what they need. And then if they need something that you can deliver for them, then focus on delivering that for them. And then that will make them want to listen to you. And then the other way to connect with people, to get their attention, is to just show them, go out here and hustle, make your business successful. And believe me, when you got money and you drive in a certain kind of car and you got freedom and you home going to the movies on a Tuesday afternoon when everybody else is at work, somebody gonna come up and ask you how did you make that money? Somebody's gonna come up and ask you. So just go be successful and don't feel like you got to save everybody. My job and my goal is not to save the entire Black community worldwide. I can't do that. I ain't got the power nor the persuasive ability to do that. I'm not that person. My goal is to develop what I consider almost to be like the Navy SEALs of the Black community, the elite, the people that are going to be part of that talented 10th. And I'm not talking about education levels or intelligence levels. I'm talking about levels of desire. You got to go through a certain experience to understand a person like me. If you've not had that experience, then somebody like me is going to sound insane. Literally, I would have probably sounded crazy to myself 25 years ago, because I had not gone through the frustrations of going to work every day with people who hate me and being mistreated on the job and dealing with white supremacy. I hadn't gone through those things. So I remember a Black man when I was 21 years old. He came to our campus and he was talking about racism and white supremacy, and he had a beard and he was talking. And I remember just thinking, God, this guy's just really angry. Like, why is this Black man so mad? I didn't get it. Because I was still living off of the white American dream. I really thought that because I was a good student making straight A's, I was going to get all these job opportunities. All I had to do was behave. All I had to do was not cause any trouble. And then I found out that that isn't the case. So now I understand where that man was coming from. But I also understand why people may not understand me. So my goal is to reach out to people that want something different. If that's not who you are, then I'm sure there's like some, like comedian or something you could be watching right now. Like, you don't have to be watching this, right? So it is what it is. Ashley Wilson. So Ashley, I wonder if that's Ashley Wilson, my cousin. I have a cousin named Ashley Wilson. What types of debts, if any, pass down to the next of kin in the event of death? There's some debts that don't pass down, some debts that do. I don't think student loan debts pass down. I think that you can actually, when you die, your student loan debts are gone. I got to actually do research on that to be 100% sure. But I do know that if you have debts, most debts, if you have assets that you pass on to another person, a lot of times with your estate, all of your creditors are the first people that actually get in line to get their money out of you before you pass it on. So you can, I think there are vehicles like trusts and things like that you can use to help kind of get around some of that. But generally speaking, if you owe a company a bunch of money and you die, they're going to come to they're going to be right there in court getting their chunk out of your estate when you die. Michael Jackson had a lot of debts, and all of his creditors were lined up when he died. In fact, Michael Jackson has never been in a better financial position than he was after he died, because when he was alive, he was just making it rain. That man I ain't never seen a man spend like that. That man spent like $10 million a month. And so he had to keep singing as an old man just to keep it going. So I almost wonder, I quietly, sadly wonder, like, what would have happened if Michael Jackson had had not died and had continued like trying to perform at the age of 70 because he's got so much debt. So ultimately, if you're spending more than you're making, then it doesn't matter how much you make, you're not going to move forward. So you got to kind of think about that when you're looking at how you manage your money and how, when it comes to debt and all that stuff. So yeah, so anyway, so your creditors will come and get their money. A lot of these specific details about trust and estates, et cetera, are being answered right now in the Black Legal Program. Attorney Nicole Compton is doing lectures every Wednesday on this very topic. And she's a lawyer, so she knows all this stuff extremely well. There's never a conversation I have with Nicole where I don't walk away saying, wow, I didn't know that. So if you want to join, you can get the first 30 days totally free. It doesn't cost you anything for the first 30 days. You can try it out. Go to theblacklegalprogram.com. That's theblacklegalprogram.com. If you decide to stay, the cost is about $3 a day, right? So it's up to you to decide if you want to stay. I think it compares quite favorably to these other educational institutions. And actually it's better because all your professors are Black. You go to most universities, you don't have any Black professors there. Gabrielle, do you use an estate planning attorney in your own state? Yeah, you should get one that's in your state so they can make sure that your estate plan fits the laws of that state. I do know also in the Black Legal Program, Attorney Nicole Compton is actually covering your process where you can actually do a lot of your own estate planning. Some stuff requires a lawyer, some stuff does not. So ultimately, the part of the reason that we have these lawyers that are coming in and talking to the students several times a week is so you can ask those specific questions, specific legal questions. And while we can't give legal advice, they have to say that, they can give you general information that will answer most of your questions, right? So that is better than going to sit down with attorney Tanya Nebo, who I think her fee is $350 an hour. Instead, you pay $3 a day to join the Black Legal Program, and you can talk to her every week and she'll answer all your questions and you don't have to pay the big legal bill. So it's a fair deal. It works out for her. It works out for us to be able to serve the community. That's why we created the Black Law School. Taisha says, when trying to start a family business, how can you include family members who want the same thing but not showing action? You know what, Taisha, I'm gonna tell you, that's a problem that many families deal with. Our family every Sunday has a family business meeting. We canceled it this week because I think everybody was doing something for Labor Day, I guess, and I was on the road. But every Sunday, typically, we get on Zoom and we invite a bunch of family members. And I'm gonna tell you, if you think you're the only person on this conversation who has trifling ass relatives, you're not. I got relatives where I invite them, I tell them what we're doing, they see the results and they just ain't ready. They just don't pay attention. They don't want to participate. So and what's really stupid about it is that one of them, I know, for example, she has a business and she can't get her business off the ground. She's trying to do it all by herself, right? And I've been like, no, come to the family business meeting. Like, if you come and you talk to us, we can help you. We know how to solve those problems. But some people just don't understand the value of cooperative learning. You see, 5 brains is almost always better than 1. It's very, very hard for you to outsmart the thinking capacity and the experience that 5 people have combined. So basically, I suggest that you just, let the relatives who are down, let them know what you're trying to do. Set up Zoom. Zoom don't cost you nothing but a couple of dollars a month. And so that way they can live anywhere in the world. My sister lives in Arizona. My brother lives in Colombia. My mama lives in Kentucky. And we all get together, and I live in Illinois. We all get together on Zoom, and it's wonderful. And the reason it's wonderful is not because we're all just because we're all making a bunch of money. I mean, sure, we're making money. My cousin's company just landed a couple $1 million in funding, right? And my sister's quitting her job. My brother's wife quit her job, right? So we're able to help each other quit their jobs. So that's been awesome. But the best part I have found actually is the time you spend together. You see, you don't understand that when you are spending the majority of your waking hours at your job, you are missing the majority of the waking hours of your life. You're missing time with people you love because you're spending time with people who don't love you. You're going to work every day, and that's time that could be spent talking to your kids. That's time that could be spent with your parents. Your parents are getting old. They're going to be gone soon. Some of your parents are already gone, right? And when they talk to old people, and who are about to die, and they say, well, what are your biggest regrets in your life? What are the things that you wish you'd done? They never say like, oh, I wish I'd gotten that promotion, or I wish I'd spent more time at the office. No, they're like, God, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I had pursued my dreams. I wish I'd loved the person I really wanted to love instead of marrying the person who was practical. Right. So at the end of the day, what it kind of said to me is that you got to find out who you are and you got to live that life. You got to live that life without fear, because most of that fear is a fear of things that you have no reason to be afraid of anyway, things that are going to work out. And also that fear will stop you from living the life that you want to live. That fear will create a tremendous amount of agony, pain, and regret. And you won't be able to change that when you're 80 years old, sitting up in a hospice and you can't go back in time. So find your life and live your life. I'm just telling you, that's my 2 cents. Anyway, Burgess says, how often should a trust be redone, and where would be the least expensive and best place to secure one? You know what? Again, these questions are being answered right now with the blacklegalprogram.com. I'm not an expert in trust, nor am I an attorney. So that stuff, I can tell you what I do. I check my will and stuff like that once a year. But the lawyers can tell you more detailed information about a lot of that. Phyllis says, what are some good stocks? Now, I do not answer questions like that. One of the things I believe in is that there's no ability. There's rarely the research. This is what the research says. The research says that it is a frugal or futile. It is futile for you to spend your time trying to pick the right stock at the right time. The research says that your best approach is to do what Warren Buffett does, to diversify, buy and hold, and that things just kind of work out that way. I'm not a big believer in what they call stock market timing and all that. I'm cautious when I say that because I don't want to offend my friends who are into that stuff. But all I remember in grad school was seeing study after study where they tried to see if all this stock shifting and moving around actually made a difference. And all it did was create more taxes, made a bigger tax bill, because the IRS taxes you differently for short-term gains than they do for long-term gains. So they punish you for being a short-term investor and they reward you for being long-term. So that right there is enough reason to me to be a long-term buy and hold investor. Okay, so let's see. Vivian says, what's your advice on the withdrawal of funds from your IRA or 401k to invest in mixed real estate property? I'm not going to give you advice on that. I'm not going to give you financial advice. But what I will say is that I've seen cases where it makes sense. I know that when I wanted to start my business, I took some money out of my 401k, because I felt like it would be better invested in my business. I said, well, ain't no better investment than me. So I went ahead and, took the plunge, but it doesn't mean that it was going to automatically work out. There's no such thing as a sure thing in investing. Just know that. Like, there's no such thing as a sure thing. And I mentioned this specifically because I know when Jay Morrison created his, his Tulsa fund, a lot of people were like, oh, well, this is going to be a bad investment. This isn't going to work out. And I wanted to warn them, like, it may not work out, but that doesn't mean it was a bad move. Businesses fail all the time. In fact, successful entrepreneurs, many of them have several bankruptcies on their record. Just because that one thing doesn't work out, that's like telling a basketball player that because he missed one shot, he should never play basketball again. That's just not true. Sometimes you take a good shot and it doesn't go in. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and head on out. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. Again, if you want to come to the convention, if you want to get passes or you want to check out the live stream, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. If you want to enroll your children in any of our kids programs, you can get a free month in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program by going to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Also, if you want to check out some of the books I recommend and the flashcards and things like that we have for kids, feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. So it was wonderful hanging out with you guys. It was real. I had a great time. I think I'm gonna go lay down. I've had a long day today, but I hope you benefited from this conversation. What is the code? Okay, the code, Cassandra, if you want to, the code is for the premium package. So if you did the premium package, which gives you access to the whole Black Money sequence, as well as all the kids programs and stuff like that. It's already discounted pretty heavily, but there's also, you can get an extra 40% off. This is good for the whole family. Like if you just want something where everybody in the family will have something and you can literally have enough to work on for the entire year, you can go to allblackeducation.com. That's allblackeducation.com. And the code you can use to get the 40% off discount is Panther66. The word Panther66, that's one word, not two. So type in Panther66 at allblackeducation.com, and that'll give you access to a whole bunch of stuff. There's literally nothing that you will be missing in your business education this way. In fact, it's so good that literally I had a mom that asked me, they said, my child is finishing high school. I'm thinking about not sending my child to college and instead sending them to the Black Business School. Do you recommend that? I used to be kind of hesitant because I didn't want to throw too many people. I don't want to throw people off of what they were already trying to do with their kids and give any weird advice. But I can only say this. If I had a child, that's what I would do. If I had a child, I wouldn't feel that my child needed to go to a 4-year college and spend $200,000 for a bachelor's degree. I would actually want my child, more importantly, to learn how to invest, how to make money, how to manage money, how to sell a product, how to build a business, how to be free. And then if they want to go to college, they can do that on top of that. But I would actually make that be the first thing they learn before they did all the other stuff. So I think the Black Business School, I know the Black Business School is better than what a lot of the white universities give you, because not only do they give you an incredibly high sticker price, I mean, just literally that's like about 20, 30 times more expensive than what we charge. But two, their faculty tend to be white, so they don't understand the Black economic problem that we're trying to solve. They are not going to solve the Black economic problem, but the Black economic problem is the reason we exist. And then three, and this is really important, most business school professors at the expense of schools have never run a business. So what I try to help everyone understand is that if you want to learn how to run a business, if you want to learn how to make money, it's better to learn from people who've actually done it, because those people can help you fill in the blanks, fill in the voids, and learn all the things you need to know. So that's why the Black Business, that's my honest assessment of how the Black Business School breaks down. Everybody who's already enrolled in stuff, you should also know we have a great customer service team. So if you have any questions, any problems whatsoever, any issues, you can't get your login or whatever your issue might be, just email the customer service team. They love you. They will take good care of you. They will work things out with you. They will help you out. If your budget doesn't let you do what you want to do, like we have a team that's very well trained that will take good care of you. And the reason we overinvest in customer service is because we know that there's a lot of skepticism with Black businesses. A lot of Black people don't trust Black companies. And we said we need to develop this trust. So we want our customer service team to be world-class and better than what you see anywhere else. So we don't treat you worse because you're Black. We treat you better because you're Black. And so you can just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com to talk to customer service. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. I'm about to go because I'm about to lose my voice. So it was great hanging with you guys, and go out here and conquer the world. Go out here and be great. I know you can do it, and I believe in you, and I love you, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.